Hello, hello. Welcome. Happy Friday, September 12th, 2025. McPenthusiast, hello. How you doing? I'm a little late. My apologies. We had a water emergency. Um, Getting ready here. Oh my goodness. YouTube is all filled with folks. Russell, Juicy Lucy, DRZ Pens. Hello, Ellen. Um, yeah, we had, I was just getting ready to, yeah, another water emergency. Correct. Hans, hello. Um, well, it's a good thing. We Oh, and there's a cable in the way. There's all sorts of crazy stuff going on. Um, they're redoing the roof and they're almost done. Except they took the like the air conditioning return and they changed the hose out and they put it. The excess water was pushing towards the drain
Towards
and
the gutter.
toward the gutter, and there was something that wasn't sealed, and it was like pouring in. And thankfully, I caught it in time because it was dripping into a box of 100-year-old ink bottles, um, and with beautiful labels on them. And I caught it just in time, so nothing got ruined. The box is toast, but they were all wrapped up, and yeah, the fun never stops. So at least there's an explanation for it, and they're basically almost done. So they're putting this adhesive on, and it's very smelly. We will probably be high by the end of the day if we stay here too long. So um, anyway. So here we are. We're on the Friday special edition since I didn't make it on Tuesday, but I also have some pens. I'm just that close to finishing, and I got another one in today. So the goal is we're gonna stream as long as it takes to basically to get these assembled and ready to go, and tear apart the pen I got today, and hopefully we can do that in short order, and we'll go from there. Does that sound like a plan? So. And hopefully y'all caught the podcast we released at 1:30. So if you haven't seen that, do check it out. We did launch all of the desk sets. I don't know if you heard that. That was a hoot and holler from Lisa in the back. She's so excited. Yeah, you can feel the excitement from here. You had It's Friday, so you have pizza delivered during the live stream? This stream or the one at 1:30? Well, anyway. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. I like picked 5 really cool desk sets to talk about. And we got 24 on the site. So oops, wrong one. All right. We're going to finish these up. We got really close yesterday. That tray looks nice, doesn't it? So we just have a couple things we need to do. Let me check my notes. We just need to check the barrels. We're going to clean the caps. And once we check the barrels, then we can assemble everything. And then we just have the caps to deal with, and test and then seal. So probably we'll have to end up sealing them on Monday. But if at least we can reduce this pile of parts down to a barrel and a cap today, that would be a win in my book. So let me find my tools here. Grab a drink of water. All right, so I think pretty sure that these are pretty clean, but they're always a little bit easier to see. And I am going to turn on, I've got another light here. It kind of makes everything a little bit bright, but I'll turn it on just for the, oh, I'm hitting the wrong button here. just for a little bit so I can see this a little bit easier. Just to see if there's any, it's so much easier to see when it's not wet. One looks good. Because when it's wet, you can't tell if, like, there's something in here for sure. I don't know why it's there, but there we go. We got a little something. But the important thing is to make sure that you get the, well, you want to get it all out. You don't want to ever leave anything in there, but um, it's most important that you get the seat nice and clean. And they are literally hammering right above. I have a door behind my screen here. Sounds like they're about ready to come through. Yeah. I'll be glad when they're done, that's for sure. What do they say when they flooded you? Well, thankfully we noticed it right away, and I had a couple extra buckets, and it was just a air conditioning return. So it wasn't. It's a flat roof, so it wasn't like there was water underneath or anything. So it was a limited amount of water, but I've been trying to listen to some classical music in the mornings, and it's really hard to do when you've got guys banging on the roof above you. It really takes away from the serenity, as it were. If they fall through the roof, make sure to sell them a nice new pen or two. Always thinking. I got some nice retro 51s. You know, that's a pen retro should make, right? They've never made a roofing retro. Gray may not be the most exciting color, but boy, is it sure easy to see whether or not you left anything in there or not. little bit there in the black. It's just really super hard to see. All right, that's not too bad. Some roofing guys are into plane spotting. Offer them the retro aircraft pens. There we go. Kind of like the gray with the gold cap. Yeah, not something you see very often. All right. Okay, so I don't have a pen. Oh, I do have a pen. I'm going to turn this light off. It's just a little bit too bright. I don't need it for this part of the operation. All right, we're going to take this pile of mess and we're going to make it a whole lot less. Put the fillers in first. A little Vacumatic lubricant on there. It really does work wonders. And we do have one filler we got to look at too. You know what? We'll put them in and we'll zip them all together right away at the same time. You don't have a pen, yeah. If one guy has a pen, it must be you. Yeah, well, see, what I do is I have two pens that I use on a daily basis. I've got my cross ballpoint which I use for in the morning for shipping and writing on postal envelopes and on the invoices, because they're on labels now, not on actual paper. And then I have my Dialogue CC that I inked up a couple weeks ago, and I grab those and I take them over to my shipping area over there. And then when I'm done shipping, I've got my laptop and I do some work. I got lists and stuff that I'm working on, and I just forgot with all the chaos today. And then we didn't bring lunch, and then went out to get some Taco John's. Then the water thing happened. Oops, I put that in the wrong one, didn't I? Well, you know what? It doesn't really matter. Let's see if this one held up. Yeah, see that is holding really well. So Hans, yesterday you asked whether or not it'd be better to replace this. And if we look at the pellet cup, it's just got that little bit of a dip right there. And it's pretty solidly in there. I mean, it's not going to be it's really only under some pressure, like on the return. It should be fine. Yeah, it is best to save them if you can. And because that one was mostly there, my next try would have been something like maybe epoxy or something a little bit harder. This is Vacumatic diaphragm lubricant. What it does is it lubricates this so that when you put it in, the diaphragm doesn't snag up on the barrel. It really works wonders. The old school method was just to stick the whole thing in your mouth, but that's kind of icky. This is a much more elegant and practical solution. If you ever work on Vax, you'll remember. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, you do what you got to do, right? You just need to get this wrench. Where do you get it? You've got a few to do. There's this really cool place called Cardinal Pens and Paper. They sell it. It's a neat new shop. Vacumatic diaphragm lubricant. One bottle will last you a lifetime. See if I can find you a link here. Oh, you're looking it up. All right. Yeah, it'll be under the repair section. and you just put it on the two spots where it's going to come in contact. You're going to put it on this part back here, which is where it's going to be sliding into the seat, and then on the just on the front. The rest of it's kind of, you know, kind of an hourglass thing going to it. Then it just slides in. You still got some shellac from years ago. Yeah, it's should be good. I guess I don't need to do these in any particular order. Oh, Scott doesn't have the wrenches available. You know what? I'll reach out to him and I'll see what's going on. I really think he wanted to be able to, because this is the other part here, right? So when you have that lubricant in there, you want to be able, just in the event that the filler turns, it doesn't bind up, because we're turning this part, which can freely turn, but sometimes, you know, if it's on the back part of the filler, it can turn the whole unit. Oh, here it is. You have the original Parker wrenches, but they are worn. And they also don't, I don't think they work as well. I mean, if you get one that works in your hands, you know, my problem is the wrench that has the handle. Almost all of them, for whatever reason, the handle is super short and it stops right there. So when you're trying to grip down, it's putting a hole in your hand, and it's the most uncomfortable thing on the planet. I had one. This one I would probably use more often, but you can see how much longer the handle is. This is a brilliant tool. This is a one of one, and it's double-sided for oversize and regular size, and then you just flip this handle over if you want to use the other side. The problem is this handle is flawed, and I don't know if you can see this. But this has gradually opened up a little bit. It has moved this way over time, which when I'm trying to, what ends up happening is I can't close it tight enough now. I'm actually touching the back of the wrench. But this one goes further back and it's flat. It's not, you know, all the other ones are, they don't have this bend. This is a really nice design. It's just that the handle is a flawed idea. But you can hang on to it. It's substantial. It's one tool for both jobs. But the Scott Pauley tool, you basically, you lock it in place and then you can turn it. So you don't have to, have extra pressure. You know, you're not turning and holding it in at the same time. Yeah, Scott's tool is better if you have grip problems or small hands. I think it's exceptional all around. Um, I don't. The only reason I use anything else is the 1943-44 black filler units. Um, the plastic ones that have a tendency to lock up. Um, and sometimes you just can't get them out. You have to really clamp it down. But this you can also clamp down now. So this tool is the Inky Nib, Scott Pauley. The Parker Vac extractor is what he calls it, but Hans says he doesn't have them available now. Scott usually goes to the Chicago and the Ohio pen shows. Um, in Ohio, he's usually in the lobby leading up to the. This one doesn't want to go in right. You got yours off of him on eBay. Yeah, I imagine it's shipping is expensive overseas. Yeah. I mean, what are you gonna do? Now, the other nice thing about this tool, and I'm proselytizing about this tool a lot, that you can't buy and I can't sell you, um, is if you're doing one tool, one pen, you can actually, when you take it out, if you leave the filler in the tool, you will get exact precise placement when it comes time to putting it back in. So if you're worried about blind cap alignment, um, which isn't as big of a deal as people usually make it out to be. That's all kind of solves that problem. The good thing is I have the tool, so we can just send the vacs to you and watch them magically get fixed. Yeah, yeah, you can do that. Little do you know, I've got every single one of Scott Pauley's vac extractors sitting behind me. Not really, but Got to run. Thanks, Don. Hope we have a fun and successful antiquing trip this weekend. We have verified there are pens. We have verified there are pens. I don't know what kind of pens, but there are pens. It was a tip from a fairly long time customer. And I wasn't sure how recent it was. So Lisa just called a little bit ago and now we just got to make sandwiches. Are we making sandwiches? All right. Lisa makes the best sandwiches. I know she'd be the first to say, "Well, it's just meat and bread and cheese." Now that they know you want the pens to jack the prices, well, I'd be lying if I said I didn't wait until Friday afternoon to call to verify that they were still there. Time to stop by the pig for fresh sandwich supplies. Yep, make yours with the crust cut off. I don't mind the end board. It's not too bad. Oh yeah, meat and cheese. Pepper jack usually. Um, we did pepper jack last weekend, I thought. Yeah, we got Swiss for the oven. Pepper jack or Swiss. Ham, turkey. My favorite chips that Lisa just loves to say. I just love to hear her say it. Sun chips. Sandwiches are very difficult. Too much of anything, and it's just not right, or too little. Yeah, I think it's. I would rather have too much than not enough, and then feeling, well, I could have done more. One of your sisters made terrible sandwiches. I always just put whatever was being used for the sandwich in the middle of the bread. In the middle. Didn't even it out. Last weekend we got some garlic. Was it garlic wheat or something? It was amazing. It was really, it's like if you're not sure, if you're not sure if there's going to be, gold at the end of the rainbow, a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, at least you know that lunch is going to be awesome, and I look forward to it. It's like it reminds me of when I was a kid, and every summer we would go fishing in Canada. And my parents loved to do it. My grandparents loved to do it. I didn't mind. It was kind of fun, um, except for the bugs, you know. Ontario area, and but my mom would make like the most amazing lunches. I mean, you'd be like, well, if fishing sucks today, at least we know there's sandwiches, there's chips, there's extra stuff, there's dessert, there's you got that to look forward to. And we always had a couple places we had. There was like a little island on the lake, and then they had a nice big rock, and we would all get together, sit there, and we'd have hot chocolate, or parents would have coffee. Yeah, the garlic wheat bread was amazing. Well, and here's the best part. Um, we actually found some, and then our grocery store has like way in the back. It's like in the back by the dairy section. They have a little bakery tray of like day old, and it's like reduced. And sure enough, there was a loaf of the same thing I was gonna get on the day old tray. Oh, Russell, at least the prep is done, right? Used to be a bakery in the area that on Mondays they had half price on whatever had been made the previous week. Yeah, I mean, if you eat it up right away, it's no problem with that. These threads look awful. They're done for now. They only did one side, so in 4 weeks they do part two. Oof. Oh man, sorry to hear that. I thought 5 years was good. Now you want to make some bread? I'm a bad influence. Maybe I'll mix them up for tomorrow. Yeah. You have a bread machine? Hubby wants to know if the pump slash barrel joint needs to hold in ink. Can you clarify? I'm not sure what you're asking. Two hands and a KitchenAid. Okay. All right. I'm not surprised, quite frankly. I used to have one, but like many people, it was like a big appliance and you used it right away a lot. And then stopped using it. Do the threads holding the pump and the barrel need to be ink tight? Well, they sort of are, right? I mean, because otherwise ink would leak out of here. Um, and all I test is, you could test it on your tongue, as a good as I put my tongue over the hole and then, pump, hold the hold it in, and then put your tongue over it, and then let it, the suction. So um, it should hang off your tongue if it's got suction. Yeah, if it wasn't ink tight, if it wasn't ink tight, or if it leaks out, you've got a problem. You've got potentially a bad seat. Is maybe the most likely option. Or what you could have is, maybe you didn't get all the old sack off. And so it's not sealing right. That's another common problem. Look at this. Ooh, that one's really nice. Really, very nice. If you get these where they're not quite right, like this one, I can feel it's shifted over this way a little bit. I can catch it here, but it's under here. Just they have a little play in them. Just push it. You don't need to. You might not get it perfect. Just kind of keep pushing it around till you get it. Some people they'll like micro mesh it down, but then you end up with a taper that doesn't quite look right, especially if it goes on differently. Put a little silicone on this one. It gets you leave yours on the counter. It has its own corner. Your dad taught both of us to bake bread. He taught bread baking at a cooking school for a while as a hobby. Wow. I did in college. I used to make it by scratch without a bread maker. Yeah, don't be tempted to polish it out. It's really not necessary. I don't think. I mean, I did it ages ago. That's better. Um, they're just not all perfect. You can get them really, really close, but it ends up making the whole thing look funny, and you can tell. You can tell when somebody did that because there's a little dip in that blind cap area. It may be smooth as silk, but you can tell. And if the blind cap is a little bit too tough, just put a little silicone on there, a tiny amount on the threads, because what you don't want uh, is you don't want the blind cap when you remove it to accidentally remove the filling unit. Now, if you've tightened the filling unit down correctly, it's not going to come out, but on occasion it can if you've got a barrel that's um, reasonably loose. I mean, if it went in real nice and easy, you could pull it out accidentally just by unscrewing the blind cap. And that can happen even if you do you get it right, change in temperature and the collectors turned out really nice. I do recommend you use a loop to line up the end of the hood to the slit in the nib, because it just, if you don't get it right, you will notice it. You might not notice it, but somebody is bound to. I'm reminded of a story. At my last house, I put up these really nice doorbells on the outside of the house. Lisa, I don't know if you just heard that. Lisa's laughing already. She knows where I'm going with this. She's laughing. Um, and we had these lovely neighbors behind us. We shared a fence with, and um, I really miss them. They're really really great. Um, we would we would have a glass of wine or something, and one day um, we looked up and they had a tree on their side of the yard that was kind of a pain. It was a black walnut, and I hated it. And they were thinking about cutting it down, but it wasn't too big of a pain enough to justify the cost. And we looked at it one day, and we had all had like a bottle of wine, and we looked up, and he says, "Hey, you know what? I think we can lasso that, and we can pull those branches down." And we ended up somehow lassoing a bunch of branches that had kind of broken off, and attaching them to the bumper of my car and pulling them down. But anyway, they were going for a walk one day, and I had just replaced these doorbell. Well, it's tight. Doorbells in the front of the house, and I wasn't happy with it, and because it was not quite. It was like just a little bit off, and Lisa's like, no, it's not off. If it is, no one will notice. It's stop. And they came over, and they walked by, and what was his name? Was Mary Rick? And I say to Rick, I said, Rick, tell me, look at the doorbell. And he stands back, and he's out by the street, and he goes, it's a little crooked. Mary looked at him, looked at Lisa. She's like, these guys are nuts. So, but on a 51, you want to get it right. This is just a little sticky on here, and it's just making it difficult to get. Did I just hear the Corvette's the ideal vehicle for tree limb removal? Not that car. Oh man, what is going on here? It was if I'm not mistaken, it was I had a Saturn at the time. What I'm gonna do? Oh, I normally wouldn't do this, but I want to get this. It just yeah, I know something must have. Of course, when you got it on there, you got to take the measurement. There. Yeah, if you don't have to monkey around with tight hood, it's so much easier. You'd think we'd develop a better tool than your thumb these days for this particular procedure, but it was good enough for Frank Dubiel. Hello, Friedrich. How are you? If it's good enough for Frank Dubiel, it's good enough for the rest of us. Now, of course, we have to redo this when we go to seal it up, but at least we know it's possible with the collector in the nib unit in the position that it's in. You miss Frank? That might surprise someone. Some I know, but he was definitely a character. Yeah, yeah. Tell you what, he answered every single question on what was it, ACPP back in the day? I think I've got 2 copies of Have to Run. Thank you for the stream. Thanks, McEnthusiast. Have a great weekend. His 5-watt kitchen light bulb and nothing but fountain pen ink in the kitchen cabinets was always an adventure. Boy, this is an extra fine nib on this guy. Holy cow. You like the extra fine 51 nibs? Not particularly easy to find. I think I found more attacks than true super fine 51 nibs. Wow. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I think if you're going to have a pen like the 51, you kind of need to have a nice, a little bit broader or wetter nib. I mean, then at least it still feels like a fountain pen. This one's got a medium, looks like. The collector works so well with a nib that you can put down a fat wet line, broad stub. I don't think I've ever had a broad stub. A broad would be nice. A true broad. Do I ever use microcrystalline wax on the pens? No, I don't use wax ever. I will polish with microgloss and that's it. Yeah. Especially things like Renaissance wax. Don't ever use that. Little microgloss goes a long way. 5, and then if you really want a nice shine, follow it up with a little 1. Shoot. The whole thing came apart. Well, at least it came apart now. You've only experienced one waxed pen, couldn't stand the feel of it, sent it back. The seller had hand whitened the imprint and waxed over it. Yeah, it's really hard to remove the wax. There's some interesting articles out there. I forget, I couldn't tell you where they are, but um, there was one in particular about Renaissance wax and like, what is it? Is it Roman or Grecian statues? I mean, really, really, and just caused more damage than. First Parker Giant he considered buying had been waxed so much it had a hideous shine. Seller thought it looked amazing and couldn't believe I passed on it. Oh, on a Giant? Come on, man. You know, I honestly don't believe that, vintage pens were not, they were not as highly polished as, some of these things that are coming out of the market today. They just weren't. I mean, they weren't dulling. Or dull or anything, but all right. So what this means, those off. Yeah, yeah. Look at new old stock. Yep, that's right. Exactly right. They're bright, but they don't have mirror finishes. Like the modern day Esterbrook Estes. I mean, they're highly polished, and that's fine. But new old stock vintage pens, they just don't. They're not that way. There's nothing that microgloss 5-in-1 pretty much can't replicate to a reasonable degree. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I know some people use buffers and stuff. I won't do it. Hey, that's a pretty good looking tray of pens, huh? Okay. You know what we're gonna do right now? I've got one pen I want to start, and then we'll get that started. Oops. That's a really good tray of pens. That's really a nice tray. We're gonna get started on this other one. If we run into a stopping point, then we can come back. But probably what I'll do is we'll just keep this short this week. 99% of all your 51s are the multiple gray colors. Yeah, right? I need a tray. Give me a second to get a tray here. This person was so excited to get his pen to me, he actually did not seal the box. So I was a little bit horrified when it arrived, and I noticed that it was kind of open, and it was there. So, well, I haven't looked at it yet. So let's take a look at it. You have to limit yourself to one color given all the permutations, and you chose gray. I mean, I guess you can get gray and well, do I detect a little crazing in here, or not crazing, but a little crystallization? Is this a vac? That's us down. This is very interesting. Both of the ends here are. I don't see any. I'll inspect a little bit with the loop. I don't know if you can see that. Just sun damaged, maybe sun faded. You chose solid gray for all post 1929 era pens, except for a few categories like Parker 45 or Waterman CF, where I complete all the color variations into sets. I did like almost all the work for me here. It's basically a part. Or pen models that gray wasn't made. I had a collector friend for a while who only collected green Esterbrookes. I asked him one day, I said, well, why did you decide to do that? Well, I mean, why green? And he said, well, for one thing, green was like one of the colors that was available in most of the permutations. It was available in $1.50 pens and such. And he also happened upon the two of the rarest green pens two of the rarest pens in green early. So he was like, I'm not doing anything else. He had the green twist filler, and he had like the marbled green. Is it foliage? Is that the right one? I can't remember off the top of my head. I know I should know this. Foliage green V clip, which is super scarce. One of these days you'll buy one of those fun Osmoroid nibs from Cardinal, but I'm supposed to be saving up for an Empire pen now. Oh, for the Empire pen show. Okay, yeah. Was the coronet cap an option on the gray 51? That would be a fun combo. Yeah, I don't know. Those Merlin pens look pretty. Yeah, they're pretty fun. Well, a coronet wouldn't be. I don't know. Like Empire cap, you mean? When you look into pens like that, you don't decide to just go blue all of a sudden. Yeah, I know. But you know, Esther could have made a blue marbled pen. That would have been awesome. It didn't though. Sadly. That's actually pretty clean. Those Merlin pens actually have a fun story to them. As I recall, if I tell the story correctly, there was a woman whose husband was the Merlin distributor, and he passed away, and she had these bins of parts. She had a bin of caps, a bin of barrels, a bin of blind caps, buttons, and nibs, and they were all separated. And she ended up selling it to, I think Gary Lair bought them. Do you remember this story? I want to say it was Gary Lair, because that sounds like something Gary would do. Would like buy out the entire collection. Yeah. And then, so a majority of the Merlins you find, yeah, it was a Dutch company. Yeah, a Dutch lady was one who inherited the remaining company stock. The majority of the ones you find were essentially our new old stock from this bat. I mean, it was like, I don't remember. I don't know how many it was, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. It was a lot. Yeah, I guess they did make a blue marble relief. Yeah, they've got that one. Which is a gorgeous, gorgeous material. But I'd love to see it. I would have loved to have seen it. If I was ever going to make a fantasy pen, that would be a cool $1.50. $1.50 one, wouldn't it? Free Dirk, do you know, was it Gary Lair who bought all that? Yeah, Gary bought her out. Okay, I thought so. I thought so. And until he passed away, he was still selling assembled Merlin pens on the regular. Yeah. I mean, they're everywhere. And they're new old stock. And they've got these little tiny 14 karat gold nibs that are actually reasonably soft. I wouldn't call them flexible, but they were, they're soft. But the only thing I didn't like is that the nib is, for as soft as they are, the nib is short, so it doesn't go in the section very, very well. But if you use it like a normal pen, it's just fine. Reminds you of the Wall Zeros. I mean, it's not that small. I mean, they're not large, that's for sure. Yeah, you can't insert them in the section. So, if you get a situation where someone tries to flex it, it'll separate from the feed, and it eventually it wiggles its way out. All right, let's see. What do we think this is going to be? I think that's a 17 on this little Tucky. I hate to cut a sack down that far, but that's what it is. Boy, it's nice when they come apart already pre-disassembled, huh? There were a bunch of Merlin cork piston fillers in that giant lot Gary got, but they were a pain to record because they had never been filled with corks. Oh, man. So you're going to hand fit them all? That's annoying. That would be interesting to see, though. Are they about the same size? But doing 3 of them, I was like, this is not worth it. It's such a... Oh, is it still a small pen? So it's the same size as the... Daniel said 17 and a half. Yeah. I knew it was supposed to be a 17, but I looked at it like it can't be a 17. But it's a 17, right? Merlin Triumph or Osme. I'm not a... My experience with Merlin starts and ends at the 33. I'm sure there's a Merlin collector out there that could write a book, but I really don't know anything about him. I'm hanging on to it. I can't use a razor blade, can I? I guess I could have measured that. It's the same size. That's when I was like not for a pen that whole, yeah, a half a mil of ink. Yeah. Well, you know, somebody there said, hey, listen, we need a piston filler. But, you know, Martin Smith used to make a 17 and a half. I know. Good luck finding one of them. Where did that go? My bench is clean and I still can't find anything. Is the Merlin Triumph or Osme, are those button fillers too? They're fun. I forget who it was saying that there was something like 23 different barrel variations in color patterns. $23, does that sound about right? Like that? But more than 20, I'm sure of it. Yeah, half size sacks used to be easy to find some with a thin wall variety, yet no. And some of the odd neck size for European Japanese pens are unobtainium. Well, when you got to buy them in the thousands, you know, it's, or multi sack lamination. A little bit of build up. Merlin is a button filler. Hey, Spicy. Oh, the Merlin Merlina. Yeah, it's like a. I think. Um, I think that's an even thinner version of the 33. As if they really needed that. Yeah, the nipple size is at 12, but the barrel's at 22. Yeah, I hate that. Merlina was the lady's clutch purse pen mark. Yeah, yeah, it's super tiny. A real competitor for the Esterbrook pastel pens. All right. Anyone done a deep dive in Esterbrook, Mexico pen offerings since they lasted a tiny bit longer than the parent company? Well, I think the name went over to Faber Castell, and they used the name up until about 20 years ago, and they made a number of products. Um, one of which was a set of markers. They're the most obnoxious things ever. They're huge. They're like, they're about that big. They're like a huge highlighter, but they came in all different colors. Um, they made a mechanical pencil um, that I discovered, but was never able to acquire. I managed to get of all things, of course, I got the the markers. But the only pens I've ever seen that they made from like the standard lineup were the J series, full size and slender too, I believe, and the later icicles, or what we now call the icicle. And they also made a Phaeton desk pen. You have one of those Esterbrook refillable markers that's impossible to take apart or get ink for. So I did try Pilot's bottled marker ink to no avail. Oh, so you have a Flowmaster, probably. They bought from Cushman and Dennison in what, 64? Cato, which is a collectible in its own right for completely insane people. because they made them in colors of all things. They made colored caps or tops of the caps, like blue, and we weren't going to jump in to the stream, but I couldn't figure out what section that was from the thumbnail. Sorry, there's the cap. Tucky. Remember having the proper ink? That was a tin can, yeah. Yeah, it is absolutely not a viable product these days. That works. You must have lost in one of your many moves. Each move always seems to equate something getting lost. Yeah. Just check something real quick here. No matter how German I am with my packing and box content lists. Okay. Well, this guy, piece of cake. Went together well. I mean, it was apart when it arrived, so that really saved a few minutes of seems like it should have been more than that, but there it is. So I think what we're going to do is we will have this guy to assemble and test on Monday. You were thinking about frustrating Lisa by dropping off a big donation of a couple hundred empty ink bottles and pen boxes? You should have seen the look on her face. You didn't touch the right button though. The button is desk sets. Is Nibmeister my next stop? No, it's not. Not really. I know enough to be dangerous. I know enough to usually to fix get a nib in writing order if it's, something on the bench. But um, I've seen enough that I don't want to do that full time. I don't want to do grinding. I know how to do it. Let's say I've done it in the past. I mean, um, I've taken Richard's nib grinding 3-day seminar twice, which is 3 8-hour days at his house. I've done it twice. Um, it's just not something I mean, I know there's an endless supply of business for people who can do that, which is why all of these people have backlogs of, it's like 3 months for most of these people. Yeah, tweaking a nib is one thing. Fixing a pretzel nib, let someone else punish themselves, right? Um, and it's. I mean, it takes a lot of time and effort to do stuff like that, and it's not for me. It's just not for me, and you have to do it. Like I repair pens every day now, which has been really nice since. I mean, if there had to be something nice to come out of the whole mess in January, being able to repair pens on a consistent basis has really. I know there are certain aspects of my skill set that have actually improved in the last 9 months. Not that I was bad to begin with, but when you do something inconsistently, you can kind of forget things sometimes if you don't do it often enough. You do 10 vacs in a row. By the time you get to the 10th one, you're like, boom and done. So, yeah, I'll get them straight. Yeah, muscle memory is very helpful. Absolutely, absolutely. So, um, if something's got that bad of a nib, either I just replace it, or unless it's something really special, then I send it off. But I don't remember the last time. I do remember the last time I thought about sending a nib off because it was nothing I could do, and it was probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it was a Waterman 18, and the whole pen was so sad. I actually offered to buy it just from the customer so I could have it as an example. Um, but I think the cap was cracked. There was a problem with the barrel, or there was a name engraved on it, and the section had pliers marks in it, and the feed, there was something funky with the feed, and the nib was bent, and it was missing tine. Fuzzy, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And so I emailed John Matashaw and asked if he was still doing retipping, and he said no. So I told the customer assistant I'll buy it for X or I'll send it back, but it's not worth fussing about. Yeah, 18 nib is worthy of repair. Absolutely, absolutely. I don't know what they ever did with it. I don't even remember who it was. But I hope they didn't scrap it. I mean, eventually somebody hopefully will pick up retipping at some point. Yeah, it is expensive to practice. You're dealing with Minushkin, yeah, yeah. There's a little wall right up here. I can just kind of lean over, and I see Lisa through the crack. She's working. Um, so anyway, um, nitrogen. Yeah, I don't use that stuff. Don't use that stuff. Anyway, all right. Well, I'm gonna stop there. I feel like I've got something accomplished. Next week, we can test all of these pens. We can spin them out, seal the 51s, and they're done. Hopefully the nibs look decent. There's one that was maybe suspect, but nothing that's not gonna write okay. But at least I feel like we went from having a tray of of a whole lot of parts to now I got 10 pens and 10 caps. And you should see the mountain of ink nitrogen. I haven't read it. Have a great weekend. Happy pen hunting. Yes, thank you, Hans. I'm sure you will be getting texts tomorrow. Tell Lisa I will work on amassing some desk sets for y'all and deliver them with the bottles and boxes. Okay. All right. Hey, if it's free, this is Friedrich on YouTube. We would love a visit, he said. I don't know how big the box is going to be. That's the problem. So anyway, this is the worst ink ever. Yeah. I'm not going to don't get me started. Don't get me started, Spicy. All right. Well, thanks so much for tuning in today. If you haven't seen the podcast, go ahead and check it out in 400 ink bottles. All right. Go ahead and check it out. It's under the live tab because we actually did record it live, but we did it private so that it could just be already up there, and then I just turned it on. We talk about the desk sets and some TWSBI stuff and all that stuff. Nice seeing you too, Spicy. And hopefully Monday we'll have some pen hunting stories. We're looking forward to an adventure tomorrow and some good sandwiches and all that jazz. So hope you all have a good evening, a good afternoon, a good morning, wherever you are in the world. Be kind, be well, and we'll see you on Monday. All right. Take care, everyone.